Behind the CBC report, a series of curious coincidences. Recently, CBC published a striking headline claiming that a Buddhist monastery in PEI may have ties to China. It certainly captured attention, but did you know there's a series of curious coincidences and a broader context behind this story that might be even more important to consider? Today, we invite you to take a closer look with us. Let's unpack the details, connect the dots, and allow the truth to come into clearer focus. 1. Family ties, Jian Duanliang and Fan Yin, a connection you might not know. 2. The book. They're working with a publisher on a new release. CBC's report just happened to come out the day before their launch. An odd coincidence. 3. Alliance, Fan Yin and David Weil, a cross-continental collaboration to discredit. 4. Conflict and division. Is that really the only way forward? 1. They are brothers. One of the key figures mentioned in recent coverage was once a high-ranking monk in the bliss and wisdom monastic community. He went by the Dharma name Fan Yin, and his legal name is Jian Qinghua. Due to a series of serious violations, most notably soliciting private donations without permission, he was officially expelled from the monastic registry. After leaving, he began publicly accusing the monastic community of unethical conduct, portraying himself as a whistleblower. He reportedly spent large sums producing accusatory materials and mailed them to major religious organizations across Taiwan, hoping the media would pick up the story. But aside from a few fringe outlets, mainstream media paid little attention. His actions became so extreme that the monastic community eventually released an official video publicly clarifying the facts and condemning his behavior. Later, Fan Yin managed to obtain a private audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, along with a small group of supporters. They hoped to guide the conversation in a way that would prompt His Holiness to criticize the bliss and wisdom community. A short excerpt from that meeting was cited in our previous video. However, as always, His Holiness responded with clarity, reason, and compassion. When asked hypothetical questions, he addressed them carefully. But when the group explicitly mentioned bliss and wisdom, His Holiness refused to comment negatively. Instead, he gently urged them to think logically and fairly. In fact, during the 2017 Chinese Dharma delegation, His Holiness publicly praised the bliss and wisdom community for its long-term commitment to Buddhist education.
所以由日常法师在世一直到现在所建立的这一个学习的制度是非常好的，藏传佛教的学习是非常好的，而且你们也有在以辩论的方式去学习，这个做法，这种学习是非常好的。
According to reports, Fan Yin has since been denied further contact with His Holiness's office. Their attempt to use His Holiness as a tool for discrediting others ultimately failed. As for Jian Duanliang, he is Fan Yin's younger brother. These two have been working in tandem for years to publicly discredit bliss and wisdom, one speaking from an academic front, the other claiming to represent religious circles. Yet this crucial relationship between the two was never disclosed in CBC's reporting. That omission raises an important question about the report's fairness and transparency. As early as 2017, there were already murmurs within Taiwan's Buddhist community suggesting that Fan Yin might be receiving support from political groups hostile to religion. This suspicion was one of the reasons why most mainstream media outlets chose not to endorse or amplify his accusations at the time. And those suspicions weren't entirely baseless. His team appeared to have unusually ample resources. They quickly launched a professionally designed English-language website and published a large volume of critical articles written in sophisticated journalistic English, clearly targeting the bliss and wisdom community. It looked very much like a strategic campaign to influence international public opinion. What raised even more eyebrows was the sudden appearance of several monks who had never had any real interaction with bliss and wisdom. Yet they joined forces with Fan Yin, making harsh public statements, operating in unison, and clearly benefiting from strong financial backing. For Taiwan's local Buddhist communities, this level of orchestration and funding was highly unusual, And it led many to ask, were these actions truly motivated by concern for Buddhism, or was something else at play? At the heart of the matter lies a simple but important question. These individuals had no firsthand experience with the bliss and wisdom community. They had never worked with or visited it. So how were they able to make sweeping accusations so quickly, with such confidence? Should we trust this kind of campaign? More recently, Fan Yin became actively involved in a high-profile political recall campaign in Taiwan. He claimed to speak on behalf of the religious community in opposing communism, and even asserted that Taiwan's religious landscape had been completely infiltrated. But in reality, his statements were not endorsed by any major religious organizations. He continued to act solely in his own name, without the support of fellow religious or academic voices. Naturally, people have begun to question, are his actions truly driven by spiritual conviction or by something more complex? His behavior increasingly appears to be aimed at stirring social unrest, rather than promoting dialogue or reconciliation. What makes this even more regrettable is that Fan Yin once spent many years studying and practicing within the Bliss and Wisdom monastic community. He trained under Elder Master Ji Chang and Master Zhenru, learning both Buddhist philosophy and monastic discipline. Elder Master Ji Chang was known for his unwavering principle that Buddhism should remain free from political entanglement, a principle he lived by and taught with clarity. And yet today, this former disciple seems to have departed from that foundation. He has stepped into politics, embraced divisive rhetoric, and turned away from the path of peace that his teachers exemplified. It's a change that many who knew him find deeply disappointing. Hashtag 2. Book launch and the timing of the news. Here's something worth noting. Several of the former intelligence officials featured in the CBC report are currently working with a publisher to release a book focused on exposing Chinese infiltration in Western societies. The core narrative of their book closely mirrors the allegations they've made against the monastic community. Unsurprisingly, they've been actively seeking events that could give their publication greater news value. In late 2024, they held a pre-launch promotional event in PEI. During the event, they publicly claimed that the local Buddhist Sangha had ties to the Chinese government. This drew the attention of some community members who came hoping to learn the truth. But much of what was presented consisted of speculation and innuendo, with no concrete evidence ever produced. The audience's reaction was telling. Many attendees walked out before the event had even ended. In their effort to gather promotional material, these individuals even attempted to forcefully enter the private residence of Master Zhenru, reportedly intending to film an unauthorized interview. Without permission, they opened the door and began recording, an act that clearly disrespected personal privacy and violated basic boundaries of civility. And perhaps most curiously of all, the CBC article was published the day before their book's launch event. Could this timing really be just a coincidence? Or does it suggest that the news piece may have been part of a larger, coordinated publicity strategy? Number 3, David Weil and Fan Yin, a cross-border alliance comes into focus. When it comes to public criticism of the Buddhist monastic community in PEI, one name stands out above the rest: David Weil. He has raised various concerns, some of them rather unusual, including objections to the monks' compassionate act of releasing lobsters back into the ocean. At first, it was easy to assume these critiques were scattered and unrelated, but as time went on, a clearer pattern began to emerge. These voices were not acting independently. They were becoming a coordinated force, and by this year, that connection became difficult to ignore. David Weil began working with a publisher to produce a book focused on the theme of Chinese infiltration. To boost credibility and draw attention, he invited several individuals with academic credentials to speak at launch events. Their strategy was clear: use the appearance of professionalism and objectivity to frame the Bliss and Wisdom community as a symbolic stand-in for the Chinese Communist Party. The message was unmistakable. Just as communities are urged to resist foreign influence, the same energy, they claimed, should be used to push the monastics out. And then came a striking coincidence. The news story supporting this narrative prominently featured Fan Yin, the person most skilled at discrediting bliss and wisdom. That kind of alignment feels too precise to be purely accidental. From Taiwan to Canada, wherever bliss and wisdom continues to teach Tibetan Buddhism, this group seems to follow. So we're left to ask, who is so invested in trying to dismantle a community of Buddhist practitioners? Why would anyone feel threatened by a quiet group of monks focused on study, compassion, and service? If those critics ever took the time to listen to us, not just through headlines or secondhand stories, but truly listened, we would say this: there's no need to worry. We have no political ties, no desire for power or conflict. We are simply people who love the Dharma and want to bring a little more kindness and peace into the world. Now, 4. Is conflict the only option? Some critics argue that because the bliss and wisdom monastic community once participated in events held in China, this somehow proves they support China's political stance. But is such a conclusion not overly simplistic? All around the world, countless companies and nonprofit organizations engage in regular exchanges with a wide range of countries, including China. Global brands like Tesla, Apple, and Coca-Cola routinely attend government-hosted events in the regions where they operate. Does this mean they endorse every aspect of that government's policies? Or is it simply part of how international engagement works? If doing good, whether through Dharma teaching, education, or cultural outreach, requires a performance of opposition just to be seen as clean, then are we truly promoting harmony, or are we reinforcing division? As a Buddhist community, our intention is simple. We want to bring the Dharma to places where people seek it. Other religions, including Christianity, Catholicism, and Islam, are allowed to practice and grow in China. Why not Buddhism? Is our compassion only valid within certain borders? Should it be confined by political lines? In China, we've promoted organic farming, supported environmental education, and contributed to communities, just as many other organizations have done. So why are our actions singled out as suspicious? Is it because we haven't loudly echoed a particular political viewpoint? We believe that real peace is never built on opposition. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has consistently upheld a path of nonviolence, choosing understanding over aggression. We feel honored and grateful to walk that same path of peace and spiritual commitment. We respect the freedom of the press, and we welcome scrutiny of our community's actual conduct. But we sincerely ask, before forming opinions, please take time to understand the full picture. Before choosing sides, consider the broader context. Conflict may create noise, but only understanding can bring true and lasting peace. If you care about Taiwan, about Prince Edward Island, and especially about the freedom of belief and mutual respect among communities, we invite you to share this video. Let more people not only hear the noise, but see the facts. Thank you for watching. We are Light of Righteous Reason. See you next time.